Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to City Skylines Mass Transit. I certainly hope you're having a wonderful day, because I'm certainly excited to be back here in the beautiful city of Nerdshire. Things are going pretty well, but $7.5 million, 127,300 people, bit of demand for residential, bit of demand for office zoning. Generally speaking, like I said, things are just going pretty well. At least in the city. A lot of people, good lord, a lot of people on yesterday's episode were not happy with how I did the metro lines. So I suppose the people that weren't happy with how I did the metro lines are going to be super pleased to know that I went ahead and did the rest of the city in exactly the same way because I'm happy with it. Is that too forward of me? Am I being that guy right now? Look, all right, let's be real for a second. A lot of people play City Skylines in very different ways. I know that the metro lines need to slow down to go around those turns. I know they're not going to be going as fast as they possibly can, and I know they're not buses. But this works. I have 10,500 people using my metro lines, and that's gonna get better as I tweak it and make it work a little bit better. Every single one of the metro lines you can see is just, or every set of tunnels you can see has just one line going in one direction. I could flip that around. I could double the lines that we have if I wanted to. And that would probably do some pretty good stuff for us. But rather than sit here and lecture you, because that's not what I'm here. I'm not here to say my way of playing City Skylines is better than anyone else's. Don't get me wrong. If you have your way of doing metro lines, that's great. If it works for you, that's great. I just like my method, okay? Are we good? Hopefully. Thank you. All right, so what I've gone ahead and done is I've basically just outlined every little district that we have. I mean, you saw me do it last episode, you saw the way it works, but I've also extended the red line a little bit. So the red line, obviously, well, I say the red line, it's formerly the yellow line. The line that goes the whole way through the city is now red because it stands out better from a distance. But I like to think it begins here at the airport. It comes along this way, and it comes down into, you know, this way, stops there, stops a little bit further down, but it eventually just sort of comes around all this space and goes right up into this area. But then as it comes back and as it gets to here, it actually goes left and then up into this space and then back down and across. And the simple reason for that is I wanted to make sure this area up here, which is pretty dense, I wanted to make sure that area was actually connected to everything. I didn't want this area being disconnected from that main line that goes through the city, so the red line is not connecting up pretty much all of the city. Not the entire thing, but pretty much all of the city. This bit here is a little bit neglected, but I mean, you can still get to the red line from these areas. You can go to this station over here. You can go up to this one if you want to. So it's not like you can't get to the red line from those areas. I just didn't really want to extend it further up this way or anything like that because it would get a little bit too complicated. But the point is, it's working and it is what it is. I'm quite happy with it, so that's the gist of it. Now today, what I'd like to go ahead and do is deal with some of the issues that we're having. There's some garbage problems up here, so what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to throw another incineration plant in here. And I'm thinking of just throwing it like there, and maybe another one there just to double up on it a little bit. So we've got some garbage disposal a little bit closer to this area, because this area is actually pretty bad in terms of garbage disposal at the moment, so hopefully we can get that fixed up a little bit. But what I'd also like to do is actually set that area to be a district. It does have metro lines going through it already, but the reason I want to set it up as a district is because I kind of like the idea of setting this as like a leisure district. I think that could be kind of fun to actually have this as like a leisure and tourism area, because we don't have any of those yet, and I just think that'd be really nice, to be honest. So this area here might very well, I'm pretty sure it is mostly residential. Yeah, it's entirely residential. So this area is about to get seriously redeveloped, but that's kind of okay. I'm not too worried about having to redevelop this area or anything like that. So we'll get that done there. Let's see. Let's bring the district zoning just out to the key a little bit as well, so the buildings that are actually on the water will get the same treatment. So that's going to come up and around like that. You're going to go to there. And there we go. All right, so we'll just tidy that up a little bit. And while I'm doing this, I just want to take a moment to mention that if I happen to sound really nasal, that's because dairy is a really... Well, there's two reasons. Number one, I think I'm getting a cold, which is great because I've been nothing but ill for the last 3 weeks. But number two, dairy has a really interesting effect on my throat. And generally, dairy is something you want to avoid. So there's milk, cheese, all that stuff. You want to avoid that when you're doing voiceover because it can really just make your voice a little bit weaker. It helps to produce phlegm, which is a great word. P-H-L-E-G-M, I think is the spelling of phlegm. Yeah. Dairy products are just not good for voiceover, and I just had like a really delicious pasta with cheese sauce. So, yeah, that's going pretty well. The point is, this area here, so a tourism specialization will dedicate the commercial zoning to serve the tourists by providing hotels, restaurants, and other activities. Leisure will basically be nightlife. Okay. What if we were to do Belmont Hill? Well, no, Belmont Hill has a lot of people living in there and a lot of offices too. I want to find an area that we can be like, hey, this is tourism, this is leisure. Maybe Fairview Heights could be leisure, and this could be tourism. I like that idea. So this is going to be tourism, and this is going to be leisure. Now, what we need to do is basically go in there and say, hey, all of that zoning, all of you people that live in there, you don't live there no more. So all of you are going to go. And all of you are also going to go. Because this entire area, I think, is just going to be commercial. I think that'll work. So just everything in there is going to be commercial. And honestly, everything in here could probably be the same. Just all commercial, all the time. That area there didn't dezone, which it should have. Dezone, please. There we go. So yeah, just all commercial all the time. Maybe not that bit. And I think that'll be okay. I mean, yeah, that's going to take a long time to redevelop. And yes, I'm aware I've got some schools in the middle of this area, but we can move those if needs be. We could put them over in the Primrose District or something. Which, to be honest, I kind of like the idea of doing, so let's do that. So the university, I'm going to bulldoze these buildings before I place it so I can actually see if it's central. University central. Then we can bulldoze this one. We'll bulldoze the elementary school and the things around here as well. Just like that. We'll just free up that entire space, I think. So all of that's getting bulldozed. We could make a park in there if we wanted to. Definitely an option, but I think I'll just go for something simple like that. Then this area up here, we want to just dezone those bits so that nothing grows on them. And as for elementary schools and high schools, I think we'll just go for something really simple. We'll have one in the corner there and one in the corner there. And there we go. So those two districts, Cedar Park and Fairview Heights, are about to completely get deleted, basically. They're about to just disappear completely. So before I go ahead and run the simulation to let that happen, I actually want to go ahead and just change up a little bit of this space here, just for the sake of getting some people living into this area. So this right here is going to go like that. That's going to be a bit more residential zoning. And back here, I kind of like the idea of doing the same, so I'm thinking something like this, and something like this. And we'll just sort of bring these roads down so that we can get people living in these areas. I think that's going to be really, really important to get people living near the highways here. So something a bit like that. And we are going to have a bit of an unfortunate gap between the buildings and the highway. But I mean, I guess I could technically do this. I think I will, just to avoid any obvious gaps there, because it wouldn't really make sense to have a big gap of just green space by a bunch of buildings. Unfortunately, I can't do a path under there, but I will do that just to make that look a little better. And that's probably fine as is, to be honest. That probably works as is. So what we'll do is we'll bring some pipes sort of just along the inside of this area so that we can get water for everybody in here. Although we missed a little bit in the middle, but that's all right. We'll do that, connect it up on both ends. And then this whole thing, I think, is just going to be residential. I don't usually like having residential right against a highway, but since I just got rid of two pretty big areas, I think it's going to be important to replace it as soon as we possibly can. So, let's have a look. Population is about to take a pretty big hit, but that's all right, because I do think it's going to be worth it. I think getting some of those, getting some leisure buildings in here and getting some tourism buildings in here is going to be a really, really good thing to do. Admittedly, they are kind of far from the airport, but we do have bus and metro connections to these two areas, so we should be all right, hopefully. I may have made a mistake on this. It's a definite possibility, but we'll see. We will see what ends up happening here. You guys are all gonna need to get out of here as well. Come on, let's get you all out of here. Manor residents, you're probably fine. So yeah, at this point, we're just gonna wait in those two areas rebuilding, which is honestly gonna take such a long time. So I figure rather than just sitting around and waiting for this to build, which, I mean, I've said that sentence before and it really doesn't apply when you're watching the video, because in the video it's, oh wow, that's still residential zoning there. In the video, the waiting around gets sort of cut out, but the point is, rather than me sitting around and waiting for this all to build, I'm actually thinking I might do a couple of little tweaks to the metro line. Because, as I've said before, vertical transportation in the city is pretty decent. It's not terrible. People can get up and down. They can't go back and forth from left to right, though. Well, they can, it's just slow. So what I'm thinking is, aside, you know, with this red line that we have going back and forth, it does a really good job. But I'd like to make it so that there are more direct options in terms of getting across the city. I think that'd be a really good idea. So you can jump on a train that is going to take you, you know, left to right, across the city, where you want to go, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm kind of liking the idea of potentially doing here is having a line that starts, well, I mean, if I put that in there, that's going to mess up things a little bit, but we're going to do that anyway. It's just going to, that'll potentially make things a little weird. No, I think we're all right. So I want to try and have a line that starts, say, here. All right. Now, this isn't going to be a major line in a sense. It is going to be a pretty busy line. It's going to be a fairly important line. But I want a line that will just go sort of back and forth across the city. It can come up and into there. It can go to there. And then I kind of just want it to go back the way it came. I think I will have it stop at that station on the way back. I will have it stop at that one on the way back as well. And, of course, just next to itself the whole way back. So the reason I want to do that is because that's, like I said, going to get people going left and right across the city. So if we go to Metro for a second, it's going to be whatever the latest one is. If I sort by line name, 28's that one. I'm going to make it just, I don't know, blue? A very pale blue color there for the first kind of left and right across the city. So that's a direct line that can go from there to there, you know, relatively easily. I'd kind of like to do similar up here, though. So I want a line that'll go, you know, maybe from here. That could be an idea. Or like here. So we'll have that sort of merge across. That's just going really, really weird there. Sort of go across the city, kind of like that. And I think that'll be okay. So we'll do similar. We're going to have that start. We could have it start down there for the sake of convenience, but I'll have it go there just so it's, you know, not completely overlapping this line down here. So it's going to go from there to there, and that's just going to be a back and forth, and I'm kind of okay with that. So that'll let people go to that industrial area if that's a thing that they happen to want to do. So that line is going to be a very similar color to the other one. Yeah, very similar color indeed. Beautiful. So yeah, that one's not going to be as useful, but it is another way to go, hey, I want to go from Sheffield Park to Daffodil Square. We might see some people that want to use that. We might not. We'll see what happens. There might be people who want to go from here. There might not. Again, we'll see what happens. I can't imagine this is a very popular destination for people to go to. So maybe that one will probably get deleted at some point. There is someone using it though, so that's what I like to consider a bit of a success. I do think I'd like a line that goes from, say, this spot over to here, so that you can get a metro line between these two destinations. I think that'd be really important. So what I'm actually going to do is connect that up, and I'm going to connect to there, and I think that'll be all right. So what I want to do with that is, I think I want to start, well, I could start in the middle. I think I'm going to start, ooh, up there would be good. You know, I do actually really like the idea of having it start a little bit further up there. So it's going to connect to that point. And I like the idea that it could start right there. And we'll have it stop there as well. It's going to come across and go to there. And I think it's also going to go... I do like the idea of bringing it down in here a little bit. Or even to there. But there's nowhere to really U-turn it down here, so that could be a bit of an issue. You know, maybe we just sort of bring it up to like there. Or there. Right there and then back. I think that'll work. So it's going to stop there. It's going to stop there. And it's going to go right to the end there. So that'll connect those two areas as well, which again, super important to do. Go for the blue color that we want. And there we go. So again, that should be a popular line. That is connecting to fairly busy areas. It's connecting to some sort of touristy areas as well, which again, people are going to want to do. They're going to want to get to those touristy areas, which I realize technically you can do from the airport. If you get on that red line, you can ride it the whole way around the city and eventually get to the tourist areas. It's just a very, very long metro line indeed. So we'll see how that goes. This one here is actually 290 people currently using it. 7 currently using 29. Which, honestly, kind of to be expected. There's a couple of people down there. That's probably going to be the least popular line in the city. It is just a straight back and forth from one relatively unpopular area to another relatively unpopular area. So, yeah, we'll not worry too much about that at the moment. Again, I'll go in and delete it eventually if needs be. Looking at the rest of the city, I'm not desperately seeing anywhere that needs a direct connection, because a lot of this, I mean, if you want to go from Mill Park to Belmont Hills, you can just jump on the red line. Well, actually, no, that'll take quite some time to get around there now that I look at it. Maybe we do put a direct one in there. It does slightly invalidate the need for the red line, though, if I do that, but I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking there really probably should be a direct line to go from Belmont. What if we did a direct line that goes from the airport to the touristy areas? That could be an idea, because this is the tourist area, this is the leisure area. So if I was to do, you know, a line that started there, and I can take it directly through. It's going to be a bit of a weird looking line, don't get me wrong, but I can bring a line straight through that goes to there, and then goes straight back. And I don't think that's going to be a terrible idea, to be honest. I think that might do some good for us. So I'm going to make that another blue line as well. And we'll see how that goes. That one might be very popular, because that is a tourist area. So I'm keen to see how that goes. A lot of these blue lines moving around. Quite a few people keen on getting on the blue line there. What about the airport? Anyone interested in the blue line here? It doesn't look like it currently. Gotta wait for that blue train to move as well. There we go. Red lines are still gonna be super popular. I realize the only reason the trains are being held up at the minute is because the blue trains are spawning, which is kind of not ideal, because there's now 2 red trains that are backed up, 3 red trains that are backed up. Probably soon to be 4. Come on, let the red train in. There we go. Alright, so people are going to get off, people are going to get on the train, and then they're going to get out of here. Oh, there's so many red trains! That's really not good. That's really, really not good at all. Is anyone waiting in here? Oh, there are actually a few people waiting to go that way. That's good to see. That's really good to see. Alright, that actually makes me quite happy. So that's hopefully going to help with some of the left and right travel. Ooh, you guys don't have power. Whoops. That'll explain why the population hasn't been growing. Oh dear. Today is just... it's going interestingly, is what it's doing. If someone wants to build in there... Oh, they do have power. Beautiful. Right. Let's get that area built up a little bit, bring the population back up slightly. This area is going to take a good long time to develop, though. It does look like we're having a lot of complaints from not enough goods across the city, so... we might very well have to go ahead and expand the industrial area over here. I'm definitely seeing that as a potential thing that we're going to have to do, because as it stands, I mean, we need to get more goods into the city. These new areas are complaining as well, so maybe what we do is... maybe we build like an industrial thing around this intersection out here. That could be kind of interesting, because we have a train line we could connect up to as well. I still like the idea of turning this little island into like a touristy thing as well, sort of similar to what I did with this island over here, which I still haven't named, by the way. I need to get on that. I've been really bad at getting the name for that island in here. Same with the airplane island or whatever it is, airport island. That's the one. I've been, I don't know. This last month, I've just been on and off being ill. I've been on and off sleeping properly. I'm not trying to make excuses, don't get me wrong. Like, number one, love my job, and number two, it's not the most stressful job in the world. I've just not really been 100% for the last month. I've just been really tired, just not sleeping right, etc. Just, look, again, I'm not trying to make excuses for it. I'm just making you aware that I'm aware that I've been a bit of a lazy bugger for about a month. But I'm working on it. You have my word. I am absolutely working on it. Now let me have a look at these lines again just to see. Popularity in 30s growing. 28, super popular. 29, disappointing. And 31, not so much. But 28, yeah, 28. Line 28 is super popular there, which is brilliant news. That is exactly what I want to see. Maybe we do one that goes up and down as well. Maybe just more lines like this one that cross a big chunk of the city. So I'm thinking that number 28, or 29 rather, 29, we're gonna delete. Just for the time being. Because what I think I might try and do is put that line back in a second, but make it a little bit more interesting. So something kind of like that to start with. Then there to there, and job done. Basically, the line now goes from this stop down this way and across. It stops here as well. It comes across under the water, has a stop up here, has a stop here, and has a stop just in here as well. So that's basically just connecting, you know, a slightly higher up part of the city across like this, in the same way that this line down here is connecting up all of that space. So basically what I'm doing is just trying to connect up as much of the city as I possibly can from east to west, west to east, etc., etc. And I'm hoping that it'll work. Now, something else I would like to do is do lines from every compass point, so the corners as well. So something like a stop from, or a line from like up here directly sort of to this corner would be really good. Same with like a line from up here to this corner I think would be really good. And yes, it does mean that my lines are a little bit messier at this point. I am well aware of that. But those lines do work. They are, like, this one's quite popular, this one's quite popular, this one's getting there. Hopefully 32 will become quite popular as well. So we'll see. As for this area here, it's starting to fill up really, really nicely. The apartments, not the apartments, the hotels. Yeah, the hotels over here are... well, they're struggling a little bit, I'll be honest. They're not having the best time in the world. But in here, I mean, we have a lot of game holes. There's a lot of these things in here, which is pretty cool to see. Oh, also, is this area looking all right? Yeah. That area is looking okay to me. So that's just going to be a nice little bit of residential tacked on there, which is completely fine. You know what I might actually do? I might see about measuring. Like, what distance is this from the off-ramp there? So $1,800 is how much that would cost me. What if I wanted to go straight to there, though? 3010. Okay. So what if I wanted to do from there? And I went like that. So 3010 is there. So that's that same distance, which is fine. So I want to do that, and I want to bulldoze this. Because what I'm going to try and do is have a space about this side on this side of the highway, just the whole way around. A space about this size on this side of the highway the whole way around. So that we box in the highway really nicely. And then off of this avenue, now it's not all going to be avenue, it's not going to be perfect, perfectly in line, but I'm just doing this as a guide at the moment. Basically off of this avenue, what I want to try and do is have all of our little streets that start to, you know, filter out into little industrial areas or little office parks or things like that. Basically, I want to get more green space into the city. I think that's going to be really important to do. I was going to do that for a second and that for a second. Because what I want to try and do here is get a little thing going. I wonder if I could bring this straight out like that. Bring this directly down to there. Actually, can I just get that to line up? Yeah, that's much easier. So bring that back, bring that to there. And now what I need to do is somehow get those two to line up. Which is apparently a lot easier than I thought it would be. There we go. So that curve now nicely follows the curve of the highway there. And I think that'll look really good. I think it'll be really nice to box in that bit of highway. I do like the idea of, you know, going for more green space on the outside of this avenue. I think that's going to be really important. I also think it's going to be really important to upgrade that avenue into a 6-lane one, because I guarantee you there will be a lot of traffic on this road. But I'm going to take a little bit of time with this road as well, I think, in an effort to just make sure that, you know, there's public transport on it, make sure that people can get up and down the road without having to use the road itself. They can walk, they can take a bus, they can take a metro, etc., etc. I think that's all going to be really, really important to do. But I like that, as that's a really nice curve. I think that'll be a really good, like, final set of grids for the city before we start going into, you know, angles and maybe curves and stuff like that, so that the city looks like it's just naturally fading out into the countryside. That's my plan here. Although these mountains might cause some issues with that. We might actually go ahead and flatten those. I said mountains. These little mounds of land might cause some issues. We'll see what happens with that, though. Let's go ahead and continue this up just a little bit then. So we'll go to about there for a second. Let's find where this curve starts. There. So that's where the curve starts, and it seems to end there, which is totally fine by me. So let's get this to be in line. And we wanted 3010 to be the number that we were going for. So 3010 marks the distance, just like so. We'll do that a little bit. And what we want to do is bring this across so it's in line with that. Absolutely perfect. And then all we need to do is get the little curve here, and it should match really, really nicely if I can get it to work properly, though, because it's been a little bit weird. I guess that's the curve. That'll do. Yeah, that looks fine to me. So there we go. And then all we do is continue this road up to about there. I don't want to go too far with that. I think about here actually might be the sort of limit of the dense stuff. So we'll bring it in kind of like that. And I think that'll be really cool. I really do. If I build that up properly, I think that'll be fine. You know, I know looking at it, it's like, oh god, that's just literally one big road. That's going to be a nightmare for traffic. But it really it really shouldn't be if I do my job right, which is a pretty big if. I think we're all aware. I think we are all more than aware that that is a pretty big if, but I'm kind of confident, to be honest. I'm maybe a little bit more confident than I should be, but I'm kind of confident. Alright, so what I've gone ahead and done here is I've basically just marked out a bunch of different shapes. I say different shapes, different sized rectangles. They're all sort of the same shape except for the ones in the corners. They're all just slightly different sizes just because I eyeballed it and thought it'd be more interesting if they weren't all the same exact size. Those are basically going to be the blocks along that road that people live in, people can shop in or do whatever in. I'm thinking that we'll probably have more people living out this way. So we could maybe do some high-rise bands, but, you know, high-tech housing, maybe tax relief, something like that, just to make people live out here. We'll make these areas really luxurious. Just all that kind of stuff to make it a really fancy area to live on the edge of the city before it, again, bleeds out into the countryside. That's my thinking anyway. What I would like to do is go ahead and actually get rid of these roads here and here, because I want to make sure that we only have avenues connecting to this main road. Otherwise, what we're going to end up having happen is we're going to see just a lot of traffic. I mean, we're going to see a lot of traffic regardless, but I want to make sure it's all traffic turning onto other, you know, smaller avenues to go into these districts. That's basically what I'm going to consider all of these to be. They're going to be their own little block. They're all going to have an old town policy. So you can, you know, if there's a road that goes, you know, from here, like this, you will not be able to use that road to get over into this little area. You're going to have to go out onto the avenue, down, and then in that way. Now, yes, that is going to force traffic onto the avenue. It will increase traffic on the avenue a little bit. But fundamentally, they are turning off of the avenue to go into another smaller avenue to go into the district that they want to go to, which is what I want. I want this avenue to be used, and hopefully used well. The more I think about the old town policy, the more I'm slightly skeptical as to whether or not it's actually going to work, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be fine. It'll probably be fine. It's not going to be fine at all. Yeah, it'll be fine. I'm not too worried. What I would like to do is actually kind of maybe keep up this kind of thing with just the roads going straight across like that. That might not be the worst thing in the world, because it's a really simple way to do this, but it should also be a really simple way to help manage the traffic, really, is what I'm thinking. My question, though, is can I actually get these to line up? Oh, I can. So that lines up like that, and that needs to line up with this one over here. That actually looks pretty good to me. You know what? I'm actually really keen to get all these roads in here. I think it's gonna look pretty good, to be honest. Huh. Alright. Let's flatten these hills for a second. We'll just get those out of here, because they don't really make sense to have in the middle of this area. I think I will leave the one that's on the highway, though, just because it's kind of an interesting looking feature. But for the most part, I kind of like the idea of just bringing this straight down to there, bringing that straight down to there. There are some gaps in here. I'll fill those up eventually. I just want to get these main roads in first. So that's obviously going to go to there. This one, I actually think I will do that with, and I think I will do that with as well, just there. So we'll do this kind of thing. We do need to get these to line up over here as well, so run this road straight through. This road over here actually needs to be turned into the slightly more dense avenue. And then all we need to do is bring these roads back, get the last little bit of curve in there, and we'll be able to step back and have a look at the potential monstrosity that we've built here, which has me very excited. So we'll do that curve, and we'll do, let's see. Can I get this curve to actually work is the real question. I kind of have my doubts. Oh, come on, work with me, cities. There it is. There's what I'm looking for right there. Beautiful. All right. That looks pretty cool to me. I don't know about you, but I'm actually really, really pleased with that. So really, all I think we need to do at this point is go through and put in these little bits here. And I think we'll do it from sort of the edges of the districts in towards the mill. So we can try and get these filled up as densely as we possibly can. So going in towards the middle like that. This one's going to have some overlap there, but that's kind of okay. We could even do this, but I don't think I will. Just have a little bit of overlap there. And that's fine. What I will do... Actually, I'll leave that road as is. I was going to change it, but I don't think I'll bother. I will change these ones, though. Just like that. Because I think that kind of makes sense. So, let's go ahead and bring a few more roads in like this. I don't think I'm going to zone these areas today. I don't think there's much point in doing that. I could maybe zone one of them. Just looking at the residential demand that we have, it is actually possible that we could definitely zone one of them. I just don't know if that is a thing we'll do. Because it's going to take a long time for these areas to fill up. So I'd rather do it sort of slowly at a decent sort of steady pace rather than trying to rush it. Just looking at this is not really going to work here. This one might have to go like that with a little gap on either side, which is a bit unfortunate, but I guess what I can do is put a path in there as a sort of temporary measure, so it's still going to look like it's paved, and that's kind of the important thing. These bits here I'm going to leave as is. Then over here, we'll do what we've been doing the whole way around as well. This is actually going to take a little bit of time to do, because there's a lot to build. And there we go. So not only have I gone ahead and put all of the roads in, I've also put the pipes underneath that entire area as well. So hopefully when I do get around to zoning this entire space, hopefully we see some pretty good stuff from it. Hopefully we're going to see traffic work the way I want it to work. Obviously this isn't going to be the only connection to that area. You might have been looking at this whole construction and thinking, good lord, is that going to be the only way in there? It is not. Ideally what I'd like to do is find a few places where I can bring the avenues straight underneath, connected up to other parts of the city. At the moment that's not going to be possible because what I've done is, well, actually I could do it there. But in a lot of these places the avenues are potentially going to run into the pillars that are holding up that highway there, but in some places they won't be, so in a few places we're going to run the avenues through, connect them up to the city, especially at the ends here as well. That's going to be really, really important to do. So that's one of the big reasons I'm not zoning this area at the moment as well, because we don't actually have the means to get the traffic around it just yet, so we don't want to completely mess things up for everyone living here. I do want to put a little park in there, though. I do also want to go around and just upgrade these bits of avenue at the end here so that they are currently going to be 2 lanes. We may change those back if we need to. It'll depend on which avenue actually gets connected through to the rest of the city and which one doesn't. But for the meantime, I think that's a pretty good idea. We could throw a park in there as well. I think I will actually throw a couple of parks at the end of a lot of these avenues. I think that might be a really nice thing to do, because it would mean that, you know, there is that consistency across all of them. I think right at the ends, at all of those avenues, we'll go ahead and throw these parks in. I do think that'll be a really nice thing to do. Could even do the same there, I reckon. So throw that one in. We'll throw one in. We can't throw one in there because of the thing. We can get one over here. We can get one in there and in there. In that spot and that spot. And along here as well. And I just, like I said, I think that's going to be a really nice way to just bring a bit of nature to this area. Because like I said, an important part of what I want to do with this is I want to make sure that people can have some green space near where they're living. I do also want to make sure that we have some parking in here, so I think I might, in a lot of these spaces, put parking lots in. I know that I want to do it here because this area is a bit weird anyway. So we'll just do that kind of thing to get some parking lots in there. Interesting that some of that does actually have connections to the city in terms of power. But yeah, I just want to make this area a little bit more open on this side of the highway. So this area here is probably going to get de-zoned at some point. I mean, one thing I will be doing is going ahead and setting it to have a high-rise ban. So we're not actually going to have any high-rise buildings out here, since it is what I consider to be the very edge of the dense urban sprawl. So we'll go ahead and do this. We'll go ahead and take the zoning off of the avenues. And Sterling Park, which I'm pretty sure we already have, is going to get a Parks and Rec boost. It's going to get, I think an education boost could be nice. We'll go for maybe high ticket prices. I think I will. I think I'll do high ticket prices for the sole purpose. We'll do recycling and smoke detector. But I'm going to do high ticket prices as well, because this is quite far from the center of the city. So, well, no, we'll not bother with that. We'll not do anything for taxation, and city planning is going to be high-tech housing, high-rise ban, old town. So a lot of policies in Sterling Park just there. But that is fine by me. I'm not too worried about that. We probably will see a lot of these buildings potentially disappear. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, that's fine. The good news, though, is that these areas over here are very close to being fully built. They're still getting worked on, but they are getting there. 12,000 people currently using the metro. The blue lines are all very, very popular, which is beautiful to see. What's the most popular line we have? 2,620 people on that one. Then it is actually blue line number 28, which I believe is the first one I put in, yeah. Not bad. Not bad at all. That makes me very happy indeed to see that people are keen to use the metro lines, including the blue lines. This one here, not that popular, but that's fine. If we look at the airport, we might see a few people waiting for a blue line. Yep. Actually, quite a good number of people waiting for the blue line there. I imagine the number waiting for the red line is going to increase once that train pulls out. No, no, not really. Because it looks like multiple trains are showing up at once these days. But yeah, a lot of people are going for the blue lines. That actually makes me really pleased. The trains are backing up. Not entirely pleased with that, but there's not a lot I can do about it at the moment. But ladies and gentlemen, I reckon I'm gonna leave it there for today. I'm quite happy with the progress. Again, I know the metro lines aren't for everyone, and I know, you know, I joke about it and I poke fun. Look, fundamentally, we're all gonna play video games very differently. I play games my way, you play it your way. Really, I don't see the point. I'm not gonna argue with anyone. It might seem like I'm trying to argue and pick a fight. I'm not. I'm just poking fun. That's what I'm here to do. It's kind of my thing. We play games differently. That's totally fine. I play my way, you play your way. I understand that what I'm doing isn't the most efficient, but I never claimed that it was. I'm just playing City Skylines, having fun, and trying to share my experience with this community that we have here in this little corner of the internet. So, you know, that's the gist of it. I do hope that despite, you know, our differences, there's some pretty important differences here in the way we believe metro lines work in City Skylines. I do hope that despite those differences, you have still enjoyed the video. I want to thank you kindly for watching. As always, it has been an absolute pleasure. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!